On today's show, the LA Clippers almost made it two in a row against the Boston Celtics, but fell just short and went down two players as well. Going to be talking about the big takeaways from this one and how we came out on the other side on today's Locked On Clippers.
You are Locked On Clippers, your daily Los Angeles Clippers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, sir. You were locking in with the Clips. Thank you for making Locked On Clippers the first listen of your day, your team every day. I'm your host, Darian Vaziri, born and raised in LA, been a Clipper fan for 21 years, been covering the team on my own YouTube channel, Dime Dropper, for 6, and full right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every single day. The number one sports podcast network now. You can listen wherever you get your podcasts, and of course, subscribe on the YouTube channel. Hit the notification bell on the road to 8,000 subscribers. And this episode is brought to you by Game Time, the best place to get great deals last minute on tickets. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. So, 7-game road trip, Clipper Nation, that we're on right now. And we were playing game 2 of the road trip at Boston. Going to be talking about how we got so close and why it didn't really feel like our game. The injuries that occurred to Jordan Miller and Derrick Jones Jr., and then some positives I took from the game. So, of course, still no Kawhi. Bradley Beal out for the season. As I mentioned when we lost Beal for the season, every single game without Kawhi Leonard is going to be hard. We're going to need a great James Harden most likely every single game, and probably a pretty great Ivica Zubac almost every single game, unless, like, if one of them were to have a bad game, we need a lot of good performances from the role players in terms of scoring and creating. And that's just a lot to ask of them, to be honest with you, because we just don't have a roster without Chris Paul being usable, Chris Paul not being usable, Bradley Beal and Kawhi Leonard all being out of the rotation. You know, 2 of them for injury, 1 because he's been underperforming. Now, this game just never really felt like our game. We had a gutsy win against Dallas in double overtime on Friday night, going from Dallas, Texas to Boston, Massachusetts. And they just came out hitting threes. I know I feel like I've said that a lot this season, and at some point you're going to be like, Dime, you say that about every team. They just were hitting threes. They just got hot. There's something the Clippers defense isn't doing right. And I think about it. I can maybe look over it some more, but nothing really stands out to me. I mean, has Zubac been as good defensively? No. I think he's been a step slower. I think he's been a little bit less aggressive and commanding looking around the rim. I don't know what I'd boil that down to exactly, especially considering we still have a lot of season to go and he can kind of turn that around. In this game in particular, I don't think Brook Lopez and Ivica Zubac did a bad job defending the rim at all. I think they actually did a decent job deterring shots at the rim. However, I think as a team, we could have done a better job of rebounding, as been the case all season. So I think rebounding, not doing as good of a job rebounding, has hurt us, because then teams get second chance opportunities, and our defense is usually, out of position. Defenses are usually out of position when somebody gets an offensive rebound on the other side. And Chris Dunn, I think, has gambled more this year, not been as solid, even though he's still been one of our better defenders. But also, we started the season with Derrick Jones Jr. and Chris Dunn playing a lot and starting games together. So that has changed things as well, not having them. And in this game, they started together because obviously Bradley Beal's out now, so you're going to see them, or before this sad injury to Derrick Jones Jr., which I'll talk about more in the second segment, they were going to play together a lot more. But in this game, the Celtics scored 121 points. They didn't shoot exceptionally well, though. They shot 45% from the field. We shot 47%. They shot 41% from 3, though, and we shot 40%. And then we shot 93% from the free throw line, 28 for 30. They shot 76% from the free throw line, 13 for 17. So we shot better than them from the field and from the free throw line, but they shot 1% better than us from three. They, however, shot 22 more field goals than we did. We shot 13 more free throws than they did. But here's a big disparity. We had 14 turnovers, which isn't an insane amount. It's not great. They had 6. So between the fact that they had 20 offensive rebounds to our 10, and we turned the ball over 14 times, their 6, that contributes to the 22 more shots that they got. So a lot of this is rebounding in this game because the shots that they were making, particularly Peyton, Pritchard, and Jalen Brown, you can't really ask for much better defense sometimes than what we got. Like, they're hitting tough contested shots off the dribble. I think we definitely could have had a little more attention to detail when it came to preventing Peyton Pritchard from getting clean looks from three because the dude is an absolute sniper. But a lot of these shots were contested. A lot of these shots were tough. And the Celtics just had a really solid shooting game from three. And mind you, they don't have Jason Tatum. They don't have Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis anymore. So they're not necessarily the same three-point shooting team that they were the past couple of years. You know what I mean? That when they won the championship. So, I mean, look, Jalen Brown and Peyton Pritchard, they balled out. What do you want me to say? Jalen Brown scored 33 points, grabbed 13 rebounds, and Peyton Pritchard had 30. So they had two guys with 30 or more points. In the beginning of the game, it was another one of those games where in the first quarter we just didn't get off to a great start. But I don't really think it was an effort thing. I legit just think the Celtics were hitting threes. Peyton Pritchard did 4 threes in the first quarter. We were down 21-9, and we were 0 for 4 from the field to start. And as far as matchups go, we had Zoo on Neemias Queta, John Collins on Derrick White, Chris Dunn on Jalen Brown, and honestly, we maybe should have started with DJ on Jalen because, one, DJ did a really good job on him. Well, not a really good job. Actually, no, he didn't even do that good of a job. And I was going to say in the finals in 2024, but JB got the better of him. But DJ, I don't know. It's easy to say in hindsight we should have had DJ start on him instead of Chris Dunn because he could kind of just shot right over the top of Chris Dunn a good amount. And then James Harden was guarding Jordan Walsh, and DJ was guarding Peyton Pritchard. I have to give Jordan Walsh credit. He made life really tough for James Harden for the majority of this game. He got into him. He put pressure on the ball and just, slowed James down a bit. And I also thought James, until he had that Harden heater towards the end, he looked a little bit fatigued in the sense that he was not getting much lift at the basket. He was getting blocked a good amount as a result. And a lot of his jumpers were short. But then he found like this second wind and was able to get downhill a lot towards the end. Then his three ball started falling. I mean, the way he almost won us the game was quite remarkable. But I think Jordan Walsh, for the most part, did a pretty good job on him. But they just couldn't miss threes, the Celtics. At one point of the first quarter, we were down by 15. And then we went on a 10-0 run with our bench unit. And it was a total bench unit of Kobe Sanders, Bogey, Jordan Miller, Nico, and Brook Lopez. And I was pretty happy with what I saw. But we were down 37-30 at the end of the first quarter. And then in the second quarter, we got it down to 5 at one point. I thought Brook Lopez and Nico gave us some really good minutes in that stretch. Then they got it back up to 10. I mean, Jalen Brown, Derrick White, all of these guys were making shots. Even guys like Luka Garza. So we went down 18, and we trailed at halftime by 14, 63-49. And then to start the third quarter, it got even worse because Peyton Pritchard hit 3 threes. And it looked like James Harden wasn't going to have a good game. So I was like, man, there's no chance that we don't have a good game from Harden without Kawhi the way against a solid team. And the Celtics are solid. They still have championship. A lot of those guys still have championship pedigree. But we didn't give up. It was a here come the Clippers kind of thing. We didn't lead for a second in this game. But at one point, we cut it down from a 24-point deficit to 11 in that third quarter, and it started with getting stops. John Collins was having a good stretch of rebounding and rim running and finishing, and even Zoo was doing a solid job on both ends, protecting the rim, hitting those jump hooks, hitting some floaters. And Harden had a huge 3 to end the quarter, which capped off the Clippers actually winning the third quarter, 36-27. And I say that because we haven't been good in third quarters this season. And then in the fourth quarter, it's like every single time we got close to tying it or taking the lead, we would turn the ball over or we would miss shots. Like we got it down to 3, and then Bogey threw a bounce pass across the baseline that was just, he probably needed Nico Batum to flash towards the ball or towards the basket to make the pass easier. But still, you got to take better care of the ball. And Bogey turned that over, and then Nico had a moving screen. And the one thing I kept wondering was, okay, when Jalen Brown sits out, we're going to make our run. And this dude didn't even sit out in the second half. He just stayed in. So that was like credit to him, doing whatever it takes for the win. They went on an 8-0 run led by him towards the beginning of that beginning of that fourth quarter. Then Harden had 7 straight points to make it 103-108, capped off a 9-0 run. But again, every time we got close, we seemed to either turn it over or they started making timely shots. So outside of Harden's late flurry, it never felt like a game that we were supposed to win. But man, how about not just the Harden heroics, but the last play? We ended up getting a clean look off with 1.5 seconds remaining. Zoo throws it the length of the court. Chris Dunn throws it the length of the court. Zoo fumbles the pass, but still gets it to James, the hottest guy in the building at the moment, for a clean look at a 3. And it almost went in. And that would have been crazy if it did. But we lose the game 118-121. A valiant effort. Just never felt like our game. And again, it took James Harden a while to get going, but you can't really fault him. Ivica Zubac didn't shoot enough shots. Only 10 shots is nowhere near good enough. But it just didn't feel like our game to win. And we knew this road trip was going to be hard. Without Kawhi Leonard, it's going to be hard to win games. Point blank, end of story, unfortunately. And coming up, going to be talking about the hit that we took. Derrick Jones Jr. going down. Your ambition just met its match. With Robinhood, you play for the win, not just on game day, every day. Locking in on every opening, beating your personal record, beating it again. Channel that drive into your money. Robinhood puts you in control of your money. Trade stocks and ETFs, options, futures, and crypto all on one platform. You can now build and execute your own trades from a desktop with Robinhood Legends advanced tools. Or take advantage of the new Robinhood strategies with a tailored portfolio managed by a team of experts. You expect more from yourself. Expect more from your money. Get started today at Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Again, that's Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Your money, your move. I got to tell you a little something about Game Time. Game Time is the best place to get great deals last minute on tickets. And with basketball season officially here, nothing beats being in the arena for those opening games and to see your team build the habits that they're going to have for the rest of the season. But let's be real. Getting tickets can be a total headache between waiting in queues, surprise fees, and prices that jump right before checkout with a bunch of added fees. You got to always put no fees. It's easy to get frustrated when all you want to do is cheer on your team, but that's where Game Time comes in, the app that gives fans the advantage. It's your ultimate life hack for scoring amazing NBA tickets fast, easy, and stress-free. You can even find NBA tickets for under $25. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. That's code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. All right. Thank you for making Locked On Clippers your first listen of the day. And thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. All right, Clipper Nation, unfortunately, we had another man down in this game, and it is a very important player. In the second quarter, Derrick Jones Jr. was going for a loose ball, and Jalen Brown, who was frustrated with the fact that John Collins had kind of pushed him a little bit, but they didn't call a foul. He lost control of the ball. Derrick Jones Jr. went for it. Jalen Brown reached for it, and in the process, grabbed Derrick Jones Jr.'s knee, and it kind of twisted and went a certain direction, and it looked like he definitely hyperextended it and needed to be helped off the floor. Immediately, your heart sinks for DJ. A guy that super humble, goes out there and just competes. Incredibly important for our team. I'm not going to sit here and say Jalen Brown made a dirty play, but if you think so, please let me know in the comments if you think so, because it was a little bit suspect. And grabbing a guy's knee. I mean, I think he was going for the ball, but still grabbing a guy's knee and pulling like that, sus. But it is what it is, man. It happens in basketball. I just really hope it's not that bad. It didn't look good, but thankfully it was a contact injury and not non-contact. With Bradley Beal out for the season and Kawhi Leonard out, and then Chris Paul's out of the rotation, that 11 players thing we talked about before the season, or I talked about, where I was like, we have 11 rotation players. How many teams can say that? We're down to 8 right now. 8. You take away DJ, we're down to 7. That's where Jordan Miller, who it was apparently hamstring tightness. Hope that's not too bad. Hamstrings can be very tricky, though, so we got to be very cautious with that. But that's where Kobe Sanders and Jordan Miller kind of come into the mix. And that gives you a 9-man rotation. Because I definitely think DJ's not playing. I mean, there's no way DJ's playing against Philly on Monday. There's no way. I would be blown away. I think he's going to be out for a couple of weeks. That's my prediction. However, we don't know. It may have looked worse than it actually was. We have to wait for the evaluation or the reevaluation, whatever it may be. That's what Ty said after the game. But it's a huge blow, to our point of attack defense, to our best athlete or high flyer on the team, a guy that's averaging double-figure points so far this season and is one of our 2 main point of attack defenders on a team that hasn't been good defensively this season. We can't afford to be worse. The Clippers right now are 4-9, right, after this game. We lost 121 to 118. 4-9. 1-4 on the road. We're in no position to be missing, guys. We're in no position to be in it. Basically, we're in a bad situation. We can't afford to lose more players at this point, especially somebody like Derrick, who so far this season is averaging 10.5 points a game. 10.5 points a game and being one of our best defenders. That's huge. So I'm just hoping he's going to be okay, that it's not too bad, that he's not going to be out for too many weeks, because we're going to miss him next game. And I think Nico should step into the starting lineup with Chris Dunn, James Harden, John Collins, and Zoo. But immediately we're depleted now. You got to play Cam Christie. It's gone to that point. Until Kawhi comes back, you got to play Cam Christie. Would you consider playing Chris Paul again? I don't know. Kobe Sanders. So let's talk about, actually, no, I'm going to wait for the final segment to talk about the positives with Kobe Sanders. But let's see what else I can say about this game. Lopez and Zoo were both in drop coverage, but I think what changed the game for us is finally when in the second half we had Zoo and Lopez coming up to the level of the screen to take away Pritchard and Jalen Brown's pull-up. That was making a difference. And the thing is, there's probably some hesitancy with Ty Lue letting Zoo and Lopez get out to the perimeter because they're afraid that they don't have the foot speed to stay in front. But Zubac actually did a pretty good job containing the ball handler, not letting him get completely by him, and contesting shots. So I think Zoo did a pretty good job. My only criticism of Zoo is this guy's just not aggressive enough. We definitely need to look for him more. That is a thing. I sound like a broken record with it. James Harden's got to look for him more. But Zoo's got to be more commanding of the ball. He's got to be more commanding. 10 shots. 10 shots. Nemius Keita shot 16. He had 14 and 9. Zubac had 16 and 12, which again, that used to be a very good game for Zoo. Now it's standard, which shows you that the expectations are inherently higher that we have for him. But 16, 12, 2 assists, 1 steal, 1 block, 1 turnover on 60% shooting, 6 for 10, and 4 of 4 from the free throw line in 34 minutes of play. A double-double for Big Zoo, but still not good enough in my opinion. We need great. John Collins, though, bounced back from his slump. That was good to see. 17 points, 2 boards, which is honestly not enough. We need more. But he didn't turn the ball over, which was huge. No turnovers for him on 8 for 13 shooting, 1 for 4 from 3. Did not shoot any free throws. We actually went to him against smaller guys on switches, and I liked what I saw. Brook Lopez. I thought this was one of the better games for him. He did a pretty good job protecting the rim. He had a 3 early on in the first quarter. He finished with 5 points on 1 for 2 shooting, and both those shots were threes, made both his free throws, and he got fouled on a post-up attempt against a smaller guy. 2 boards, 3 assists, 1 steal, 1 block, and 0 turnovers. He was a plus 11 in his 14 minutes. So I think Brook Lopez was very solid, and he was part of that first quarter run where we came back from down 15 and went on a 10-0 run. And Kobe Sanders, man, coming up, going to be talking about the positives with him because there were a lot to take. I got to tell you a little something about FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. And right now on FanDuel, for the NBA Finals, the Thunder are heavy favorites at plus 175. The Nuggets are second, followed by the Cavs, Knicks, and fifth. The Houston Rockets and Lakers are tied. The Clippers still at 11 as of now. And where can you go to bet on this? FanDuel. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, Clipper Nation, we lose this one 121-118 to the Boston Celtics. We dropped to 4-9 on this season, unfortunately, and 1-1 on our 7-game roadie, with Monday being the second out of a back-to-back against the Philadelphia 76ers, and our good old friend Paul George might be returning for his first game of the season, which honestly might alter their chemistry a bit because they're going to try to look to get him involved, look to get him back into the swing of things. I would hope. But regardless, it's not going to be an easy game. And we're on a second of a back-to-back, having worked hard to try to get a win. We lost Derrick Jones Jr. I mean, as I said, we had an easier start to this season, and we didn't take advantage of it. Now we're on a road trip. We got to reap what we sow. And it's just unfortunate we don't have Kawhi, who we're going to need back ASAP. Now, he is on the road trip, which lets me know that the team thinks that he might be able to return. I don't know what game he's going to return, but I think it's either going to be Charlotte or Cleveland on the weekend, next weekend. That's my prediction. We have 2 days off after the Philly game, though, before we play Orlando. But Orlando's not going to be easy either. So all hands on deck without Derrick Jones Jr. It's going to be tough. That's 7 players, but you add Kobe Sanders and Jordan Miller, that's 8 and 9. We'll see if Jordan Miller can go. If not, I think you got to play Cam Christie. I think either Cam Christie or Chris Paul. And I would probably rather go with Cam Christie. One positive for the Clippers was Nico Batum. He was 2 for 4 from 3 in this game, and those were all his shots. He had 4 rebounds to go along with his 6 points and 2 blocks, including a classic Nico Batum chase down. And to be honest with you, he is an underrated chase down blocker. So we got some pretty good production out of Nico. Thought we had a pretty good game out of Lopez as well. Jordan Miller, he didn't play that much. He only played 11 minutes. He had 4 points on 1 for 3 shooting, 0 for 1 from 3, and made both his free throws to go along with 2 rebounds, 2 assists, and the turnover. The thing about Jordan Miller is this is really his first time getting real rotation minutes for an extended stretch. I know last year we saw some moments in the first half of the season, but it didn't really last long. When you look at his game log from last season, I mean, there was a stretch from around November 13th to December 16th, so about a month where he was playing consistently, and then it kind of stopped, and he would play here and there. So, about a month. So I stand corrected on that by myself. We'll see if he continues to get run. But honestly, I'm for it. But you know who I'm really for getting run? Kobe Sanders. This guy was amazing, crashing the offensive glass, giving us second possessions, working hard on defense. He's very good at playing off of 2 feet. He doesn't have the craziest bag, but he's pretty good with his handle. He's tall, and he's playing off 2 feet, so he's jump stopping. He's finding a way to not turn the ball over, even though in this game, Yeah, he only had one turnover. He's taking care of the ball. He's making strong passes. And the one thing that really encourages me that he could be a rotation player for the remainder of this season is his ability to catch and shoot and make threes, because we need more of that. And with James Harden on your team, if you can do that, you will play. He had 11 points on 4 for 7 shooting and 2 for 3 from deep to go along with his 6 boards, 2 assists, and a steal. Just 1 turnover, and 4 of those 6 rebounds were offensive rebounds. So double figures out of Kobe Sanders. You also get double figures out of Bogey, who had 11 points, 4 boards, 3 dimes, 2 turnovers on 4 for 10 shooting, 1 for 5 from 3, however, and made both his free throws. My only thing with Bogey is there was a stretch in the second quarter where he legit was just not making the extra pass, not seeing the open man, and I don't know if he was either being selfish or just wasn't looking up. I would assume it's selfishness because Bogey's got to be looking up. He's an NBA player, and he's got a good handle. He just wasn't passing, and it was frustrating me. Even the Nico 3 that he banked in, that wasn't a good possession. Bogey was lagging on the pass, and then he threw it out to Jordan Miller in the corner, who threw it to Nico, and you're lucky Nico's good enough to get that quick release off, and he banked it in. But yeah, I loved what I saw from Kobe Sanders. Love what we saw from Nico and Brook Lopez, but we just could not close that gap, unfortunately. But yeah, I think it was a valiant effort. We're just asking a lot of the guys right now. We really are. Without Kawhi Leonard, we're not guaranteed to beat Boston on the road. We're just not. We need better performances from some of the guys. And, of course, Derrick getting hurt doesn't help. So, yeah, we got 11 from Kobe Sanders, 4 from Jordan Miller, 11 from Bogey, 5 from Lopez, and 11 for Nico. All in all, that equates to 37 points, which was 21 more than the Celtics bench, who had Sam Hauser have a donut, Josh Minott have a donut, Anthony Simons had a donut. Luka Garza had 13 points. That pisses me off. But they got good production from their starters. As far as our starters, Chris Dunn, it's the good and the bad with Chris Dunn. He's great defensively, but offensively, he's just not a great shot maker at the NBA level. 6 points, 4 boards, 3 assists, 1 block, turned the ball over 3 times, and was 1 for 5 from the field, 1 for 3 from deep, and 3 of 4 from the free throw line. Again, without Kawhi, and of course no more Beal, and compared to last year, no more Norman Powell, there are less places for Chris Dunn to hide offensively. Talked about John Collins' 17-point game. Derrick Jones Jr. finished with 5. Zubac with 16 and 12. And then Harden, 37 points, 7 rebounds, 8 assists, 1 steal, 3 turnovers on 9 for 22 shooting, 5 for 11 from deep, and 14 of 15 from the line. So I thought he was still doing a pretty good job of getting downhill, getting to the free throw line. He just needs a little bit more offensive assistance. However, I think going and playing through Zoo, it's funny because every time Zoo misses, it feels like, oh my God, he's just God. But then you look at his stats and he's 6 for 10. I feel like we're so harsh on him. Maybe I'm not, but I am I've been pretty critical of him this year. We need better. We absolutely need better. But it's just hard. What I'm looking at seeing is I'm going to pay even closer attention in this next game at our defense. Why are we looking so bad? I think the rebounding is a real part of it. I really do. And for those wondering, Dime, how can you be staying so calm right now? We're 4-9. The season's collapsing in front of our eyes. Kawhi, if he's back by the weekend, we still have a chance, dude, to be a top 6 seed. I mean, I've already given up on. I gave up on the championship before the season even started, and people were saying, "Oh, how could you say that?" This is why, because I'm not delusional. I don't know everything about basketball, but I damn sure can tell who's a contender and who's not, and we're not. We're too old. We're relying on Kawhi Leonard still. That in 2026, you can't be relying on Kawhi Leonard. But if he does come back this weekend, or next weekend, I should say, we can make a run with so many games left in the season to get in the top 6. Worst case play-in. I still don't see us not being a play-in team. We're going to have a stretch in the season where we play really well. But are we going to be a top 3, top 4? Nah, that's where I've probably given up. We're 4-9, and this road trip is going to get hard. So we'll see. Shout out to James Harden and Ivica Zubac, though, for holding it down. Especially James Harden, who's playing up to standard, if not above an expectations or the standards of a player his age. Zubac, we still need a little bit more, and I hope Derrick Jones Jr. is okay because it's a huge loss. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Dime Dropper Pod. Subscribe to my own YouTube channel, Dime Dropper, where I went live to talk about this game and the last two as well on YouTube. And then, of course, Locked On Clippers on YouTube, available wherever you get your podcast as well. But on the YouTube side, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell so we can get to 8,000 subscribers before the end of November. Right now, we are currently at, let me check. We are currently at 7.76. So 7,760 approximately. Need 240 more for that 8,000 because we're trying to catch up to Locked On Thunder. The age-old proverb continues. Go Clippers.